Welcome to the 11th episode of Downtime Podcast. I'm Alyssa.
And I am Jeremy. Welcome back, Alyssa.
Thank you. I have a lot of things to say about E3.
Well, can't wait to hear it. As you guys heard from last week's podcast, Jairus and I talked extensively about E3, and so this time we're actually going to talk to Alyssa and hear what she has to say about E3.
I'm going to touch on a few points that you two talked about last week. I agreed with a lot of the things you two talked about.
Yay.
But what I wanted to do is give an opinion of what it was like actually being at the convention as well.
Okay.
At the conference, yeah. And kind of give you my 2 cents of how I felt and how things could be improved and a lot of different things.
Gotcha.
It is also 10 at night, and I normally shouldn't be tired, but I'm really tired today.
Yeah, it's okay. Me too. So it's hot in LA. You get your badge.
By the way, okay, really random point.
Yeah.
So I arrive in LA, and it's hot, but it's only, say, 87 degrees. And the 87 degrees is still hot.
Yep.
And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a little dehydrated. The night that I flew back to Northern California, and I find out it's freaking 107 degrees up here. I couldn't believe it. I was in so much shock walking out of that airport thinking, what the hell happened? I think it was only 70 degrees when I left for LA, and then all of a sudden...
There was a huge heat wave when you were gone, and... I don't know. Yeah, it was crazy. It was 107 in my hometown, so I can't really complain.
Oh God. So, talking about E3, I went to E3 for 2 out of the 3 days. I went for the first two days. And I didn't go on the last day because I had a stomach ache. But that's okay. Because I felt like I visited everything I needed to go to in the first 2 days.
Okay.
Just to sum up my experience at E3, it was okay. I had a good time. I made the best out of what the conference was, but there were a lot of things about E3 that I did not like in terms of the way it was managed, and I will go into that later in this podcast. So I have actually a list of things that I wanted to address about E3.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to go through the list and tell you what I thought about everything last week.
Yeah, sure. Can't wait to hear it.
Yes. Okay. So number 1, this E3 almost had no new releases, and a lot of new things announced, and a lot of the things that were announced are games that are already out, just coming out to a different platform. For example, Skyrim for VR. Do we really need a Skyrim for VR? I'm sure it's cool, but a part of me is thinking it's almost like Minecraft. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Minecraft VR coming out soon, because it just has to be on every single freaking platform that exists.
Yeah. In 4K.
In 4K, exactly. See, it's gone too far. They could just be working, or they could have announced a new game too.
Yeah, Bethesda had I guess 2 new kind of releases, but sequels. We touched on it last week. Evil Within 2 and Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. But I feel but I feel like they could have added something to the Elder Scrolls series this year. Maybe they were still working on it, but I guess they wanted to put the Skyrim VR as a filler. I don't know.
And that's probably what it is. Bethesda definitely could be working on something, and I'm just saying that because I feel like Skyrim, it came out in 2013, I think, or 2012. It's been a while.
Yeah, 5-year-old game.
Yeah. I don't remember, though, how long the gap was between Oblivion and Skyrim. It could have been longer. Maybe it is actually a long gap, and I'm just not remembering it well.
So I played Skyrim in when it first came out, around the time it first came out, that was 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a while.
All right,
Yeah.
so there's like a 5-6 year gap in between each game.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. All right. I take that back. Maybe. I guess it's not that. It's not that. It's not that bad that there was just a Skyrim VR. What I didn't really look into, I don't know how this VR is working and how they're going to implement Skyrim into VR.
I see what you're saying.
At E3, there were a lot of VR showcasings.
Oh yeah, it's like the way of the future now, you know?
It is the way of the future.
Future of gaming.
It is the future of gaming. I agree. But I think what's getting to people as well is the pricing of VR. It's just definitely the price though is what gets you.
Yeah, VR sets are expensive nowadays, and it's not really a consumer item, which, although they're trying to advertise it as such, I don't think it's a consumer item. It's way too expensive.
Oh, definitely. Well, once the VR price drops to, say, $300, we'll definitely be seeing more virtual reality and, maybe even augmented reality in video games. But as of right now, it was very cool to see. And I actually tried the PlayStation VR at E3, one of the demos there, and it was cool, but I think it still has a long way to go, at least in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it has potential.
So for PlayStation VR, I noticed that they were also demoing something called Monster of the Deep, and it seemed like a side game of Final Fantasy 15.
Huh.
But I didn't really look much into it at that time. It looks like it's a take on the fishing game that's in Final Fantasy 15.
That is very specific.
It is super specific. And for context, one of the skills that you can attain in Final Fantasy is the fishing skill, and it's very useful for Ignis cooking your food. So I wonder what the play would be for this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems like they can make a game out of any mini game in Final Fantasy.
I mean, it's very. I guess you can make a VR experience out of everything. Remember that one game? I think it's called Flight, where it's just a bird flying and you're just flying over the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're making a VR out of everything.
It's basically Bird Simulator. I mean, if they can make a simulator out of anything, they can make a VR game out of anything, right?
Pretty much. Speaking of which, with VR, you know what's that duck hunting game?
Duck Hunt?
What's it called? Oh, God.
Is that what you're talking about? I played that. I played that on the NES when it first... Well, not when it first came out. Well, when my dad gave it to me when I was young enough. I had the light gun and everything. It was cool.
I was about to say, I played that game at my cousin's house, and I also had the gun controller as well.
Nice.
Is there a Duck Hunt VR? I feel like there's gotta be.
There definitely is.
Oh, man, that's exciting.
There's
yeah.
I
see it's for HTC Vive.
Yep. There's a GIF on Reddit today that I saw of a guy playing Duck Hunt on VR. Of course, it's not Nintendo sponsored in any way because he pulled out. he pulled out. First, he had the light gun as like the gun, and then he pulled out 2 Colt 45s, and then he pulled out a grenade. I was like, "This is a real game, but it's definitely not Nintendo made." It's cool. I was like, "I want to play this game."
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Also, let's see. Someone actually just posted onto.
Who is Nightclaws?
I have a feeling that's one of my friends. But
sorry, we're talking about our for you listeners, we're talking about our Discord, which you should join if you go to Alyssa's website. But yeah, someone posted something about did anyone else see this coming? This wasn't announced during E3, was it? Namco Bandai .hack GU last recode announcement trailer. I have to admit, I don't know exactly what .hack is aside from that it's an anime.
Oh my god, they're having a game out of it? I've seen that anime before.
Oh, okay. I have no idea.
Holy crap. Really? Oh wow. That was definitely not announced at E3 at all. In fact, it was announced yesterday.
Ooh. See, all these post-E3 releases.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. It's coming out for PC and PlayStation 4. Yes. Have you seen the anime?
No, I have no idea what it is, aside from that it's an anime.
Okay, for sure. But aside from that, I did not know that was coming out as a game. So thank you for posting that. I have a feeling I know who this person is, but I'm not going to call out their name.
Okay.
Because I don't know if they would want their name called out. But I would probably text this person after the podcast ended.
Sure. I'm pretty sure the two people that I don't know on this Discord so far are the two people that are your friends. Because obviously Gyrus is the only person I know.
I feel like I went off tangent. Okay, I guess the point I want to make is that a lot of E3 this year were games that were announced in 2015 and 2016, and they were follow-ups.
Yes.
I can't tell you, 5 games that were actually new at E3 that I did not know about before I went to that conference.
I could tell you one. Mario and Rabbids.
Oh my god! which we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Oh
later.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh god, we definitely have to talk about that.
Oh jeez. Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make this real quick point, dude. The Oculus, not the Oculus, the HTC Vive is $800.
Oh jeez. Yeah, it's like hasn't gone down in price.
Yeah, it's still the same price, and then obviously you need to have a pretty decent computer as well.
Oh man.
To help to assist with it, or not assist, complement it. Yeah. VR is just very expensive. But
it's a cool concept.
It is a cool concept. I do know that the Oculus is on the cheaper side though.
Yeah, I think Oculus is trying to go for the more affordable range, which is fine,
Too. Yeah.
And we both know someone in our office that has a Vive, and they seem to like it so far. So
they do like it.
Going back to what I was saying about it being expensive and not very consumer friendly, I think right now it's like everyone's a beta tester. They're all beta testing this device or these devices, and hopefully, when we get the Mark IV version of all these devices, they'll be much cheaper, much more affordable, and have really good games.
Definitely. I almost wonder if by the time that VR gets cheaper, that's when the first prototype for AR for whatever is going to come out with video games. Because there is AR, because if you think about it, there is a lot of AR already in existence in terms of video games with iPads and stuff, and especially because there's a lot that you can do with spatial mapping.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like by the time virtual reality gets cheaper, they're gonna figure out more ways to. They're gonna figure out the AR for video games in a lot of different aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least prototype it.
I think AR is also going to be one of those good games in the future. Game concepts.
I think I actually, in regards to VR versus AR, in what I've tested with, I like AR a lot. I just like mixed reality and the fact that you could see, for example, a hologram on your own wall.
Or a Pokemon.
Or a Pokemon, for example, on your bed. And it turns out that your garage is a Pokestop, and you're wondering why all these people are standing in front of it.
Oh yeah, but you hand out free cookies.
Yeah,
you don't hand it out. You throw it at them and tell them to go away. Get off my lawn.
I know,
Leave me alone.
Oh man, man, can you imagine if we did this podcast during the Poke craze? Because all of those crazy ass, there's a lot of crazy ass stories that came out of Pokemon Go.
I know, right?
All the people who got kidnapped and robbed is crazy.
When I was in Japan last year in August, it was the height of the Pokemon craze. Japan just got it, so of course they were super into it. I was walking through Ueno Park in Tokyo with my friend, and I was like, "What's everyone? Oh, He's like, do you play? I'm like, no, and I put my phone away. I didn't play a lot. Like I wasn't obsessed with it. Yeah, I know, right?
Don't judge me.
Yeah, right. There was at least like 300 people in the park, all in like one area, and I was like, it was like humid and it was like 90 degrees, and I was like, I can't be in this park any longer. It's just way too hot.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, that was not really so much a crazy story of being kidnapped. It's just like, wow, people were really into this game at one point.
Yeah, seriously, it was an incredibly popular game. One might argue that it might have been the most popular game of last year. But I think that obviously we both know the biggest issue with Pokemon Go was their freaking developer, Niantic, that didn't develop anything when there were issues with the app, as well as they took a really, really long time to add more generations, which at that point is when the game died out.
Yeah, I mean, there are still some people who play it.
There are.
They did add the second generation of Pokemon.
They did.
There aren't as many as there used to be, you know?
Oh, yeah, but they did it way too late. Like, can you imagine if the second generation was added maybe, like, 2 months after the first generation?
That's the thing, though. They wanted people to capitalize on the first generation Pokemon and then go into the second generation once people had their fill. But, like you said, it was too late. Everyone had their fill.
Too late.
The fad was over. The fad was gone.
They chose the wrong time.
But hey, I think Nintendo got their money. I mean, Nintendo definitely cashed in.
They did get their money. Yeah, Nintendo's been doing really well for the past 2 years, in my opinion.
R.I.P. Satoru Iwata.
Yes. Okay, I'm going way too much off tangent.
I know.
But
it's okay.
Every time I talk about something, it's like it builds on something, and I have something to say.
No worries. Let's go back to E3.
It's like 10:37 at night.
I know. We've been recording for 25 minutes now, 26 minutes. So let's go back to E3.
Okay, so I feel the second point I wanted to make is I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of these things were not vetted by video game. So, for example, a lot of these releases and things that were announced at E3, I feel like were not vetted by, say, their company's marketing or their company's, like, execs or something. Because why the hell is there an Xbox One X?
Xbox One X.
Xbox One XX. And by the way, the first and the last X are lowercase, and the other X's are capitalized.
Right. Sounds like the typical game. Xbox One X does have cool features, though, like backwards compatibility. I think that's like the coolest thing. Everything else, I don't care about 4K. Not everyone has 4K TVs yet, so it doesn't really appeal to me.
They're treating this as a 0.5 generation, kind of like how, for example, PlayStation, they have the Slim and the Pro. This doesn't feel like a 0.5. This feels like a pretty, like, substantial upgrade.
This feels like this is what the Xbox One should have been.
Yes, I was about to say, like, this honestly feels like the next console, or like their next generation. But they're treating it like a 0.5, probably because there's 4K. I don't know. Like, almost, if you don't have the Xbox One, this is the console to get, for sure. Even if you don't have a 4K TV. It's gonna be stupid fast.
Oh, God, I can't wait.
And then what you said, it's backwards compatible.
Yep, so you can play literally any Xbox game from Xbox, the first Xbox, to the 360, to the One. Which is pretty cool.
It's really awesome.
They said that every game has, like, or they're trying to make it so every game has, like, a system link play. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be a very powerful console. I think they're trying to make up for how the Xbox One was treated when it first came out, because if you kind of recall, when the Xbox One came out, they focused with their marketing. They focused a lot about how, you can watch Netflix on this and you can watch a bunch of videos on this, but they didn't really focus on the video gaming aspect of it. If you remember that campaign.
I do.
Yeah. And so now it seems like they're coming back to reality and realizing This is a video game console.
Yep. Well, they're trying to appeal to gamers. It's a console for gamers by gamers, whatever that means.
Yeah. The next point I have to make is about Nintendo.
Okay.
And I think Nintendo had the best showing at E3.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Hands down.
With Microsoft, I was gonna say with Microsoft Odyssey, with Mario Odyssey and how they turned that into like a very Grand Theft Auto-esque looking game.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome. Like it looks a lot of fun. I don't really play Mario, but even I acknowledge, wow, that's pretty cool. Their booth was huge. It was ginormous, and there was a lot of interactivity in regards to, like, there's things to take pictures of, and there were just a lot of things to look at and watch on monitors, and you know, even though you're standing in line for 2.5 hours, there's all of these different things to see.
I feel like Nintendo was true to what their products are. You know, Nintendo wants fans to have fun, and they make better software than they do hardware. So I feel like they wanted their booth to be like an interactive place, aside from just, you know, sitting around and waiting. So I think that's pretty cool.
Definitely, yeah.
Good on them.
Nintendo, like, did really well, and then also, one thing that kind of surprised me was that Nintendo announced Metroid.
I know, right? Two Metroid games, actually.
Yeah, and that was a huge shocker for me. I was like, whoa, Metroid Prime, like,
yeah,
that's pretty awesome to offer. Like, I forgot, I think it was on Kotaku, the way they described their E3 booth was they treated it like it was a playground. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, and it was definitely the most fun interactive booth of the conference.
Cool.
Yes.
Glad to hear that you had a good time there, because obviously, so far, you know, I've never been to E3, and so far what you're telling me, it sounds like it's pretty cool. And this is a lot of the things that we don't get to see, because I only watch the press conferences, and that's it. I don't really look at anything on the trade show floor.
You know, a lot of the exhibit floor is advertising and just getting people to look at your booth, try out your game so that they'll buy your product in about a year.
Very cool.
And it was very cool to see the creativity of all the booths. But Nintendo definitely was, in terms of press release and overall booth and just everything that happened at E3 is probably number one.
Nice.
Yes.
Good job, Nintendo.
Yeah, really good job. I'm surprised by I'm surprised that they talked about Splatoon 2 in the E3 conference booth.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting them to talk about it, to be honest.
Yeah. I didn't think they would actually give a significant focus on it.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and it had its own section in the booth. I was like, wow, they actually have like a significant amount of space here. That's pretty cool.
I think it's because, like, you know, when Nintendo was selling the Wii U, not everyone bought it, but then when Splatoon came out, suddenly a lot of people bought the Wii U just to play that one game. Mm-hmm. And so Nintendo took that and said like, maybe this game, obviously on the Switch, is going to be so popular and so good, so they need to have its own space for it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that it's cool to see them capitalizing on it. I've actually played Splatoon on a few of my friends' consoles, and I really liked playing it.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, I've never played it before, but it looks like a really cool, new, fun IP. You know, because Nintendo doesn't have a lot of new IPs, and when they do, they always it either like falls too low, or they always go back to having Mario in their new IP or somehow.
Yeah.
But Splatoon doesn't really have anything related to Mario, right?
Mm-mm.
Good. I mean, that's awesome. You can stand on its own.
I know. So I thought that was very cool to see.
Very nice.
Oh yeah, so what we talked about earlier, this Mario and Rabbids game.
Oh.
I walked into E3, and when you walk into the West exhibit hall, on your right, you just see this huge Mario, you know, display statue that you can take pictures with, and then you see like a stack of Rabbids
Oh,
right next to
jeez.
them. And you're just like, what the hell is this?
Uh
What's
huh.
going on? And then you find out that Mario and Rabbids are having a game together called Kingdom Battle.
I mean, I that was really surprising, and that's like the thing from the conference that I dislike the most.
Really?
Because I don't like rabbits at all. And I was, whatever.
I just think it's a very it's very random.
They're the minions of the gaming universe.
I know. Also, really quick question.
Sure.
I was also surprised by this because, if they have if they're doing this, that means they're working with Ubisoft, and I was always under the impression that Nintendo didn't really do collaboration work with other people.
And they
It
didn't do mobile games either for a long time. And,
Yeah,
Pokemon Go came out, and Fire Emblem, and a bunch of other stuff. Mario Run.
yeah.
So I think Nintendo's just experimenting what other developers can do with their IPs. Because from what I heard from the conference, Ubisoft is working solely on this with support from Nintendo.
Mm,
So yeah, all the assets that they showed so far were built by Ubisoft
yeah.
with provided by Nintendo. So I think it's kind of cool that they're letting Ubisoft, like, they're basically licensing this out to Ubisoft and letting them do whatever they want with it. And maybe this is a test to see like what Ubisoft can do with their IP.
It seems like Nintendo is learning from a lot of different um different complaints that they've received in the past.
Yeah,
Within like the past 2 years. So that's all I have to say about Nintendo.
cool, cool.
So I just talked about like more so some of the releases that came out, and now we're gonna talk about what actually happened like my actual experience at the convention.
Okay, so Elisa's
Yes,
on-floor experience.
my on-floor experience. As you kind of know, E3 is usually a conference for industry people,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, you do press releases, you do demos, but there's a lot of ways for industry people to network. And
Very
I
cool.
and I actually went on an industry pass. But this is, I think, the first E3 conference in a really long time, I think since like the first 3 years that it started, that they allowed the general public to come in to the conference. And E3 was not prepared for it at all.
Oh no.
Yeah, I did not have a very enjoyable experience mixing the two together. And not to say that I don't, I don't, I don't not want the general public to go to conventions. I think like it's cool that allowing fans to see the different things. It's just the way that everything came out was very disorganized.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, they were not prepared for how many people actually attended that conference.
Jeez.
Yes, it was kind of a shit show on the very first day. The second day seemed like it was a lot more regulated, but just all the booths and like security was just not prepared for how people were, going around the conference.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very easy fix for like for the first point that I'm making though. Like a clear divide between content for industry and content for the general public
Mm-hmm.
every day, or you just for example, industry people are there for the first 2 days, and then the last 2 days you could, like the general public are invited to attend.
Gotcha.
The next point is that I felt very unprepared. When I finally walked onto the floor, I felt very unprepared in how to kind of allocate my time, because I found out that a lot of companies, you had to do extra third party things just to reserve time at their booth.
Give me an example. What does that mean exactly?
Okay, so I'll give you like the straight example, PlayStation and Sony. So the PlayStation area had obviously like things for demoing, and then what happened was you kind of walk into the booth and you see like a bunch of people crowded there, and you're thinking, okay, I'm just gonna stand in line to test this out. And then you find out from someone that you actually had to download a separate PlayStation app to reserve times for that booth.
How would you know about that prior to going?
Exactly. You did not know that prior to going.
What the hell?
And I was like looking at a lot of my emails, and there was an E3 app, which by the way, like, was kind of useless.
Oh.
Yeah. And it did not say anything about like these specific company booth vendor things that you had to abide to.
Huh.
To actually enter their booth.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, it did suck. And, you know, a lot of people, including me, like, walked in, and you had no idea that this was happening. And by the time you realized that it was a thing, there was no more slots to test it out.
What the hell? What the hell, E3?
Yeah, exactly. So that I found very frustrating. And then, of course, you just had, like, some booths like Nintendo, where you just had to sit through, like, a 2.5-hour line.
But was it worth it for Nintendo?
Oh, I didn't actually test anything. I just watched, because...
Oh, okay.
As a person who's been to a few conventions, I think my tolerance is waiting an hour. If something's over an hour, I will just move on to the next thing. Another thing about E3 that was very frustrating is that it seemed like the different parts of management and security, and when I say different parts, I mean like the different buildings where E3 events were taking place, they seemed to be not aligned with each other in terms of how to run lines and how to allow people in. And yeah, so... The actual E3 convention was at the LA Convention Center, and it's in this kind of 3-block area where it's a few things. It's the Nokia Theater, it's the Staples Center, it's LA Convention Center, like I mentioned, and the Novo, and a bunch of other a lot of different areas for theaters and like halls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were points where not everything was taking place in the convention center, and you had to walk to one of these theaters to watch interviews or seminars.
Interesting. I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, they did have that. They only had one theater for live interviews, and I was kind of surprised that they didn't have, like, for example, like 3 different theaters kind of just running different content the entire time.
Yeah, that would be the smartest thing to do.
It would be the smartest thing to do, and it's what every other convention does. In fact, every other convention probably has 5 things running at the same time. Yeah. And what was very annoying was... between this theater and LA Convention Center, it's probably like a 5-7 minute walk, but you had to take time to get there. And then, of course, you have to stand in line. At no point when you're in line for this theater that's 7 minutes away from the LA Convention Center do they really tell you, or there's no signage, that backpacks aren't allowed in that theater. And no. Yeah, and if you have a backpack, you have to check it into bag claim at the LA Convention Center.
Oh my god.
I know. And there was no sign for it. I experienced this twice when I was trying to watch shows, because the first time Brandon had a backpack and we all had to go back. And then And then the second time, we were in line to see Hideo Kojima, and the line was, packed because it's Kojima. And we're waiting for the time slot to, um, you know, to finally be accepted into the theater. And all of these friggin' people had backpacks. And
Wow.
at no point did the security that was standing around, like, waiting to let us in, just make an announcement or say anything like, hey, by the way, backpacks aren't allowed. You basically
Yeah.
you basically found out when you got into the theater that backpacks aren't allowed.
Wow, what the heck?
Yeah, that was very annoying. And it came to a point when I was standing in line for Kojima, I was just telling a bunch of people with backpacks, hey, like, you're, like, last time we had a backpack and we weren't allowed to go in, so I'm just giving you a heads up. And
Oh,
then,
that's nice of you.
yeah, because it's bullshit that they're, that these people are fucking standing around and they're not telling you the simple things so that everything can be painless.
Hmm.
And painless not just for security that has to do the checks, but painless for you too. Like, saves you the heartache.
No, yeah, totally.
Because if you can imagine, all these people standing in line for Kojima, like a fourth of them couldn't get in.
Huh.
Because they had to, walk back and forth. And then by the time they came back, they're at the end of the line.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not good.
It's not good. And then on top of that, you know what would have actually solved the problem? If that theater had its own bag claim.
Yeah, I feel like
You know what I mean?
I feel like every theater there should be smart enough to like hold your bag and like a coat hanger or just like a cubby hole or something there.
Exactly.
But I don't understand why they had to make you go all the way back to the big convention center.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I can see there already this management here.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense at all. And also, like, I think about it from a money standpoint, and they're, like, E3 is trying to make as much money as possible. And God,
yeah.
You can just charge $2 at the entrance of that theater, and I would have paid $2 because I didn't want to deal with any bullshit.
Yeah, for real though.
Yeah, it just a lot of this shit made no sense, and it's very unfortunate that there were a lot of things that they could have done to solve the issues like initially.
Yeah, I mean, I think with now the public's eye on the convention, they need, and with all this publicity that's been going on since it first started, I feel like they need to step up their management game since a lot of the general public doesn't know what E3 is like firsthand.
Definitely.
And there are people that go to it every year, like journalists and like just press who go to it, and then they experience it on their level because they go to all the press conferences, they walk around the floor, and I'm sure some of them are smart enough to know that it's mismanaged, but a lot of them don't say that when they talk about E3. They only talk about the games because that's the most important part about E3 is the games,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So they don't want to tarnish the reputation that E3 is, which I understand.
And that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, it's like a music festival or just, like a Comic-Con or anything. It's always gonna be really crappy in terms of like the way it's ran.
Yep. I went to go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
I can complain about it as much as I want to, but it's just kind of the way it is sometimes.
And I think that's why they didn't want to open it up to the public initially. It was because they were afraid of the control.
Yes.
They wouldn't have enough control over all the people that were attending.
Oh, for sure. And they didn't.
No.
Their fear came true. But like I said, a lot of these things that I'm talking about can be improved upon for next year. Like it's definitely not a all end.
Yeah. I just think all the all the publishers and all the biggest companies need to like get together and like talk about it, and because like they're also focused on their own booths that they don't think about the others.
Oh, for sure.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I think that's a lot of what I have to say about the way just that E3s ran.
Awesome.
Cause yeah, and like I said, um, there's there's just a lot to uh, be improved upon. Because I think it's a wonderful thing actually that the general public can attend E3 now. Because there was always there was always a mystery behind E3, and as a video game fan, just as like someone can be a movie fan or a
Mm.
comic book fan, you're always curious and you want to actually see all of these different things, and you're really excited for seeing like the press releases and trying out different things. And it's really cool that people are allowed to do that now. It's just the system has to be fixed.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yes.
I growing up, I went to this smaller convention in Sacramento called Sac Anime.
Oh.
It sounds weird, Sac Anime, but
Oh my god.
it was fun.
It's
Yeah, I don't know.
it's only weird because you're saying it.
I know when I think about it, I always laugh. I'm like Sac Anime. Have you heard of Sac Anime, Elisa?
Oh yeah, I have a bunch of friends who go to Sac Anime and cosplay there. Like when I went to college.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course you. Yeah.
Yeah, when I went to college, that was a lot of people went there.
Yeah, I mean your school was near there, so I
Yeah.
assume you knew about it. But yeah, I used to go. I went there 3 times when I was in high school, and once I think when I was in college with my cousins and my brother.
Yeah.
It was all right, but I feel like smaller conventions are a lot easier to manage since you know exactly where everyone's gonna be and
Oh,
what you're all gonna
100%.
do. Yeah. With
For
these bigger conventions, like you have a lot of the older crowd, especially like with Sac Anime, I feel like there were a lot of younger people managing the convention, and they knew exactly what these people wanted. With the older crowd managing E3, they've been doing it for years and years and years, and they know the formula, they know how it goes, and despite all these setbacks, they still go through with it.
For sure. I was about to say, in San Jose, there is a small anime convention called Fanime.
Ah, I don't know if it's
And
small though. I feel like it's a lot bigger than it used to be.
Well, is it that? I'm basing it off of the size of the San Jose Convention
Oh,
Center.
okay.
Yeah, and maybe it's not. I don't know anymore.
It's okay. I've never been. I only hear stories, so I'm not even justified when saying it. So, yeah, I mean, I always wanted to go to Fanime just once
Yeah.
because I went to Sac Anime, and that was the only anime convention I've ever been to.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it's a big convention or not. Everyone just says, "Oh yeah, Fanime is like it's gonna be huge." I'm like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
man.
Definitely. There's a lot of things that can be learned about with other conventions that they'll probably implement for next year. For example, what you're saying with Sac Anime and the volunteers, dude, those freaking high school and like college volunteers for conventions are really useful and informative, and they're just all over the place and can help direct you like
They know what the people want.
they really do know what the people want. Like, people underestimate the power of a volunteer. Just to sum up the more like technical, technicalities of it. I believe that if you actually went to the conference, it was $600 if you bought it early and $900 if you bought it late.
Wow, almost $1,000.
Yeah,
That is crazy. I don't think I would ever pay that much money to go to a conference.
I know. I wouldn't pay that much either. I will say I don't think that the experience was worth that money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if they really want to, like do it for the fans and all different types of things, but also balance out how there's industry people there, there's a lot of work to be done to really compensate for that price. But it's really expensive.
Gotcha.
I would never, like, if E3 was at, if I couldn't get into E3 for free, I probably wouldn't have gone at all. So,
No, yeah, I would. I mean, honestly, it's not my dream to go to E3. And from what you're telling me and what you've told us so far, I don't think I ever want to go to E3. I'd rather just view it from from a bird's eye.
I
I'd rather just see all the highlights and that's it.
definitely. It's like I said, it's a lot of fun viewing from afar. I always have fun viewing it from afar.
Yeah.
Now that I kind of know what it's like, I don't feel the need to go to E3. So 2 more points that I have to make.
Okay.
So the first point, and this is a long ass podcast. Okay, the first point.
Yeah.
The first point that I have to make, or the next point that I'm gonna talk about is the different things that you could actually see at that theater that I was talking about, where you can whatchamacallit, where you could see Hideo Kojima and stuff.
Okay.
So the actual theater where you could view interviews and all that type of stuff, it was called the Novo, and on the schedule, like every hour, every half hour, there was new people, like developers, directors, producers, that type of thing, being interviewed. And I saw 3 interviews. One was for Wolfenstein 2, the other one was for Dissidia, and the other one was Hideo Kojima.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like watching interviews because you get to see behind the scenes of the production, because the production team is what you don't hear about when making a game, and I find that shit really intriguing, especially talking to a developer or producer, like even like the animator. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching them, but I think that the actual host, like the person who was interviewing these people, could have been better lead-ons and could have been more engaging.
What do you mean by that?
Oftentimes, if there was awkward silence or there was like a sudden break in the interview and there was just nothing to be said, it was usually caused by the actual host who was interviewing that person.
What the hell?
And I don't know how. So per interview, there was a different host each time. I don't know how the hosts were chosen each time, but I didn't feel like a lot of them were prepared and appropriate for this interview, and a lot of them were just kind of just dry, not engaging.
Gotcha.
When I watched Hideo Kojima, it was weird, and next is the content that was talked about during these interviews, where it was interesting but not what I wanted to hear. And the example would be with Hideo Kojima, and his interview was actually, the host of it was the director of the latest Kong Skull Island movie.
Wait, Jordan Vokes Robert? Whatever his name is? Oh, what the heck?
I know, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was very, it was very odd. There were a lot of random hosts. Afrojack hosted something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what he hosted, but he did host something.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, I don't know what the rationale was behind a lot of these hosts.
It's like when EA... Do you hear about Jesse Wellens, the YouTuber who was speaking for EA?
No. During their...
Basically, during their press conference, they hired this guy named Jesse Wellens to talk about, I guess, Need for Speed or something during EA's press conference. And he was so nervous, he would pause during the live stream.
No.
He'd pause. It was so cringy. He'd be like, "Hi, guys, I'm Jesse Wellens." And he got the other guy's name wrong. He's like, "Thank you for having me here." It's so cringy. I'll send it to you later.
I feel so bad.
It's so bad. No, it's just like I couldn't watch it. I was like, I can't, dude.
I feel so bad
I can't.
for him. Oh my god. That's
No.
terrible. Oh,
Poor Jesse
poor
Wellens.
Jesse Wellens.
No, but yeah, it goes to show you, like, why are these companies choosing these people to interview other people, or just as hosts in
I
general?
know.
Like, what is
Well,
why?
I'm sure in the case of Jesse Wellens, if he's I didn't know who he was before. If he's a popular YouTuber, that's probably what they were trying to get at. Trying to incorporate like people that are watched through social
Yeah.
media into these press conferences. But what has to be accounted for is the actual content you're talking about, as well as practicing what you're going to say, and you know even just talking to the person before the interview starts.
Well, here's the thing too. Jesse Wellens isn't a gamer, from what I can
No.
understand. He's a pranker. He does pranks on
Okay,
YouTube.
that's just weird. Okay, that
Yeah,
never mind.
exactly. Like,
You
why
see,
did they
when
choose
you said
him?
YouTuber, I thought you meant like a video game channel. I didn't read.
No. That would have made more sense. This doesn't make any
Okay,
sense.
I don't understand the rationale for a lot of things. with
Yeah.
this.
E3.
For real. So with this, the director of Kong interviewing Kojima, what's his last name, by the way?
Hideo
No,
Kojima?
no.
Kojima's his last
Kong,
name.
the Kong Skull Island director.
Oh, it's like Jordan Voges Roberts? I can't
Votes
pronounce it. I
Roberts?
just know
Okay.
his first name is Jordan.
Okay, I'm gonna refer to him by his last name. So Votes Roberts. That interview was not really, well, it was about his video game inspirations, but it was talking to Kojima about his favorite movies and how that influenced the games that he made.
Okay.
And it was you would think that, oh, that's actually a pretty interesting topic. Huh. That could lead to a lot of interesting conversation. But it was one of those things where it was neither of their faults, but they probably should have accounted for it. Obviously, since Vots Roberts is a director, he knows, like, he has, like, knows more language and nuances, like, in regards to, like, the movie industry, which he referred to a lot. And, Kojima was answering a lot of the questions very well, but there was just a lot of things that were kind of like lost in the translation, simply because it was just like, it was very movie based. And although Kojima, of course, he's influenced by stories that happen in movies and everything, like, he doesn't understand, like, there's a lot of terminology and technical things that he wouldn't understand, like, in regards to, like, filmmaking, that Vance Roberts kept referencing to. If that makes sense.
No, it does. I know what you mean.
And overall, it was a very interesting conversation. It was not what I expected, but I did enjoy watching it.
Did Kojima speak English, or was it all in
Japanese? There was a translator. Yes.
Huh.
And
interesting.
another thing that felt weird is, and you can say this for a lot of those interviews, is there was just no chemistry between the host and the person being interviewed. And it was very obvious. Oh, the host, person being interviewed, and the translator, oftentimes too. It almost seemed like in this Kojima interview that he was in like a who can talk louder battle with his translator.
I could just imagine that in my head. That's pretty funny.
I know. Rounding out.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna sum it up with what I personally thought, like what I personally liked, and what my favorite booth was, which was the Sega booth. And it was a very small booth. It was obviously not as crazy and intense and over the top as Nintendo or, Microsoft or Bethesda or PlayStation, but I felt that Sega's booth was very neat and very simple yet creative. Like, it was a thought out booth. And they really took from the environments of their games and implemented it in like it was a very solid setup for their booth.
Okay.
As well as it was probably one of the most well managed booths in terms of like lines as well, and making sure that things are in check.
Was there any Sonic stuff?
Yes, there was a lot of Sonic stuff.
Got Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces coming out this year.
I know. In fact, there was even a Sonic character that you could take pictures with.
Aww.
It was very cute. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
And as well as they had like a lot of like graphic wall prints for Sonic, and it was it was very cute. Like overall, it was a very cute booth.
Cool.
And what was really nice is when they were displaying the stuff about Yakuza 0, they actually had a Kamurocho alley, or a Kamurocho road.
So cool. That's so cool, dude.
Yeah, it was really adorable. Like, it was adorable, the Sega booth. It was very... You know, they didn't do all of these fancy things, but I felt like they put a lot of heart in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you know, think about Sega's past. They got beaten out of the console wars, so they had to find some solace.
One of the only things I actually did was demo Yakuza 6.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. And, oh man, I'm just so hyped for that game after trying it out.
Awesome. I know, I'm excited.
So there are two ways that you could demo that game. You could either play, also, that was probably one of the longest demos you can play. It was really cool. You could either free play with a few side things that you could choose from. For example, karaoke, mahjong, I can't think of the other things, as well as a few restaurants that you can walk into.
Yeah.
You can either do free play, or you could actually play part of the storyline. But I didn't want to play the storyline because I just wanted to. When I play it, that's when I'll find out what the storyline is.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Any Yakuza cosplayers there?
No. Oh, there were barely cosplayers at this. I think since it was like the very first time it was open to the general public, there weren't that many cosplayers. There were quite a few, though.
I mean, like, not so much as general cosplayers, but you know how there's a guy with a Sonic suit? Sometimes some booths have people kind of dressed up as the characters. Yeah. No one from Yakuza walking around?
No.
Oh, man, that's so... okay.
Yeah. For sure.
It's my new favorite franchise now, Yakuza. As of course, we've done a podcast, we've played the game, we talk about it. So I was so excited when I heard that when I saw that you went to basically Kamurocho, because that's the closest you're ever going to get to Kamurocho without actually going to Tokyo, you know?
It was awesome.
So jealous.
Yeah. Oh, and then another cool thing that that Sega did was when you walked into the conference, you know how I said that the Mario Rabbids thing was on one side.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a photo booth for Sonic the Hedgehog on the other side for Forces and Mania, and it was legit like a green screen, and there was a trampoline, and what you did was you can jump on it, take the picture, and then you I don't know what the background was because I didn't do it. But that was really cool. It was a really fun way to promote. Yeah. That there was for obvious reasons there was a long line.
Yeah. I mean, it's beloved.
It is super beloved, and it looked really cool. If it wasn't that long of a line, I would have probably taken my picture there.
Makes sense.
Yes. And that. I think that rounds up all of my E3 points.
Sweet. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
I mean, as someone who has no desire to go to E3 and still doesn't have any desire to go to E3, I feel like I know a lot more now than I did before when it goes to like a super professional big conference like this.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to be enjoyed with E3. Obviously I had complaints, but I had a good time. It was one of those things where you gotta just make the best out of the situation. A conference will be a conference.
Right.
And it was just, it was really cool. It had me, like, I was super giddy a lot of the times when I was walking around, just like, wow, I'm actually here. This is crazy.
No, totally. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
feel like, um, with when it comes to E3, uh, I feel like it's one of those things that if you're a huge video gamer and you respect video games in a lot of ways, then you should go at least once if you have the desire to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Huh?
Gotcha.
Gotcha what?
Oh, if you have the desire to go to E3, you should definitely go.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Um, I unfortunately I feel like those prices are gonna be exactly the same. If anything, it wouldn't surprise me in any way if they actually bumped up the price. But if you can afford it, or if it's something that you really really want to go to, you should definitely go. I think since this was the experimental year with the public, it's gonna be improved upon by next year. Like, I think 2018 will probably be way better.
I feel like they say that every year.
Yeah, they do, but it's in different context this time because it really was crazy this year.
Oh, I bet. I
Yeah,
bet.
but yeah, that's all I have to talk about with E3.
Cool. Yeah, and I don't really have anything to say. I think I said everything last week, and I kind of touched on some points here. And yeah, Steam sale. So PayPal just leaked the Steam sale as they did in previous years. I think years. Was sort of an advertisement to use PayPal to pay for your games on Steam, and so they revealed that the dates are tomorrow. If you're listening to this, well, not tomorrow. If you're listening to this now, we still have to edit it. It's going to be on from June 22nd until July 4th.
So we have one question.
Yay!
One question from. Okay, so this is from RK. Thank you, RK. The question.
Oh,
The question that we got this week is: would you two ever get a video game tattoo?
uh, ladies first.
What the heck?
Do you want me to go? I mean, I'll go if you want me to say.
uh, Fine, I'll go. I know it's
Okay.
just funny because you were like ladies first. I'm like, since
I'm being
when?
courteous. I'm being courteous.
Oh man. I have actually thought about getting two tattoos, two video game tattoos before, which I will probably not go for because they would both be image tattoos, and I don't know how I feel about. I don't feel like I would personally get image tattoos, but in my times when I was really considering it,
Mm-hmm.
the two tattoos that I was considering having was the logo for Final Fantasy X.
Uh-huh.
And Final Fantasy X is like this orange, blue, purple logo, and it's of the main character Yuna, and so it's taken from this scene where she's doing a ritual water dance, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a really nice logo, and that game had like a profound effect on me, and I actually considered having that tattoo, um just because I feel like there was a lot of things that you could do with it, and like making it like look flowy and all these things, because the logo is like she's flowing with water, and it was very
Cool.
nice.
Very cool.
Yes. And the second tattoo that I have considered was, if you've played Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is one of my favorite stories. What I thought would be cool was getting like a tattoo of an origami crane on, like, I don't know, like on my wrist or something. And that's
Mm.
actually like from the game.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, I got three answers for you, RK. First one is, no, I don't think I will ever get a video game tattoo simply because I don't really want to spend money on something that I might regret later. Also, I am deathly afraid of needles. And I don't want any needles penetrating me on my skin. Yeah, that's the first reason, or the first answer. The second answer is, if I really, really had to get a tattoo, for some random reason, I'd probably get a tattoo of 8-bit Luigi.
Aww.
Somewhere, because my brother and I, when we were growing up, the first game that we ever played together was Super Mario Brothers on the NES, and I was always Luigi and he was always Mario. And Luigi's sprite in Super Mario Brothers was basically just Mario's sprite but colored green. So I'd probably get that little 8-bit version of Luigi somewhere like unnoticeable on my body. I don't know. Yeah. And the third answer is, if I had to really, 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 really get a tattoo for whatever reason, like it was against my life and someone was holding me at gunpoint and paid me a lot of money to get a tattoo, and
Oh my God,
I had to show them.
dude,
I would
you went
no
there.
fucking joke. Yeah, no fucking joke. I will go to the tattoo parlor. I'll whip out like a Yakuza tattoo from Kiryu Kazuma's back, and I'll get Kiryu Kazuma's dragon tattoo on my back.
Damn.
Bam. But I would never have it because again, back to my first point, it's all contradictory. I would never get a tattoo. So,
all right.
Alright.
We're
should we call it a day?
we're tired and we still have work tomorrow.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.